Hey guys, Omni here. This is the last thing I wanted to talk about today, and this was actually some old news compared to some of the other things. There was a recent Yahoo interview with Joe Manganiello where he kind of recounts on what Ben Affleck's Batman movie was going to be and what his role was going to be in it, as well as what the original intent of his cameo at the end of Justice League was going to be. We learn a little bit about that version that we got in theaters is not the one that Zack necessarily intended. So I want to kind of talk about this because it just gets me more excited for what Ben Affleck's Batman would have been. Though now I am still excited for Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson's Batman storyline and where that's going to go. I just really loved Ben Affleck and as Bruce Wayne, as Batman. I loved his figure, I loved his suit, I loved his tenacity, and I loved the way that he used his mind. You saw him investigate, you saw him do things as Bruce, you saw him fight like the comic book Batman. I think it was the closest we've gotten to Batman coming off the screen, off the page and onto the screen, that I really wanted to see how that was going to go from there. But things happen. Who knows? Maybe, considering how the Snyder Cut thing goes, maybe we'll get this. They are diving into the multiverse. Anything's possible right now. But let's talk about what Joe had to say. So he wanted to talk about what his role was going to be in that movie. I think it's a good place to start with let's start with the Justice League thing, the teaser at the end of the movie. So of course we know at the end he shows up on Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor's yacht to talk about what had just happened. You know, it's like, they got a league. Why don't we have a league of our own? That was Joss Whedon's rewrite. That originally was going to be him coming to Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor and talking about what he wanted to do to Batman, planning on what they were going to do against Batman, and then maybe expanding that into the greater, members of the league from there. But yeah, he goes on to talk about that he wanted to, the purpose of that meeting was to, the end goal was to take out Batman, the Dark Knight. And he talks about how that was supposed to lead into Ben Affleck's Batman movie, in which he kind of compares it to the movie The Game. He said it was a really dark story in which Deathstroke was like a shark or a horror movie villain that was dismantling Bruce's life from the inside out. It was a systemic thing. He killed everyone close to Bruce, destroyed his life to try to make him suffer because he felt that Bruce was responsible for something that happened to him. Of course, what we kind of know from what we've learned about Ben's script as well was going to have Arkham be a huge centerpiece of it. There's going to be a couple other villains, but it was really going to be a psychological dark dive into his mindset, his psychology, and his pathos. And it was going to explore that duality very closely. And this, I think this kind of ties into that as well, because if he's losing people around him, why he fights, why he carries on, why he moves forward would definitely be challenged. And then he kind of goes on to talk about the original post-credit scene a little bit more, talking about his and Zack's vision for how that was supposed to play out. He says, Zack called me one day and asked, how'd you like to do it again? So I said, sure, man, I'll be there. And he told me, okay, we got your armor out of storage in England. We're going to fly it over here. Is there anything you want to do differently? Of course, kind of talking back to what they had originally shot or what they were originally going to shoot, with that very dialogue with Lex Luthor or whatever. And he goes on to talk that he says one new element that he wanted to bring to the reshoots was Deathstroke's badass mohawk. The greatest warriors are the ones who walk into the battle already dead or assuming that they're going to die. They're looking for someone who can actually kill them. That way there's almost an excitement around that is today going to be the day. So there's that climactic moment in my standalone story where I wanted Slade to shave his head into a warlike mohawk, knowing that he was going off to his own death. And I said to Zack, I always envisioned him with a big white mohawk, and he was totally down for it. So that explains his haircut. So Deathstroke, as we are going to see him, I guess in these reshoots, will instead have the mohawk this time. It makes me wonder if they're going to rewrite that dialogue, since that movie that they're alluding to necessarily is going to happen. But he did say that everything in some recent interviews, that everything is going to stay as he wrote it, with the intention that he had back then, with some minor things that he wasn't able to do or was still juggling with doing, like what we've learned about Jared Leto's involvement in the movie was something that he had drawn up and storyboarded, but at the time wasn't able to actually put it in. But now things have opened up and he's able to actually put that in the movie. But this scene, having originally been intended to be in the movie, I imagine the dialogue is going to be more in lines the same, setting up the movie that unfortunately probably is never going to happen. Which is sad, because I hope if this movie succeeds, I hope that the Snyder Cut blows up. I hope it does all the things that we're hoping it does, whether it's a good movie or a bad one, however you feel about Zack Snyder or the universe he wants to create. I hope it gets the reception that we're expecting. The fans that really wanted to see this, wants to see this happen. And I hope, I don't expect it. Zack doesn't expect it either. This leads to a continuation where we actually get to see him finish his story. And maybe by that, because there's also a rumored Ben Affleck Batman HBO Max series that is rumored to be in the works and being talked about as well. Maybe that could fill this void and be the Deathstroke, what was going to be the Ben Affleck Batman movie. We never know. Like I said in the previous video about the Spider-Man stuff, with the announcement of Flashpoint, with this Spider-Man 3 stuff buzzing around, with the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, with Crisis on Infinite Earths, everything I thought was possible is just being shattered. Because they're doing some crazy things that I thought would never happen on live action, never happen on the big screen whatsoever. And at this point, I think anything's possible. You never know. It's just crazy with the rumors that Tobey Maguire is going to be suiting up as Spider-Man again, alongside Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland, with Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, with Ben Affleck coming back as Batman, the Snyder Cut even being made and completed. Anything's possible. You just got to have the want, and there's got to be the audience, and there's got to be that financial need for it. And I think WB is going to need, especially after this shake up and stir they just caused in Hollywood this week, they're going to need some freaking goodwill, and there's going to need some reasons for people to come back, because they're pissing off a lot of their creators with this announcement they made for 2021. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that because I thought it was cool, because I was really looking forward to Ben Affleck's Batman continuing onward, and then that whole thing just unraveled after the Whedon cut got released. All the drama, all the shifts and backstabbing at old WB. It sucks that kind of fell apart. Though what has been coming out of WB, out of DC since then, I've still really liked. Joker, Shazam, Aquaman, Birds of Prey. There hasn't been a miss for me personally. I've liked every one of these films, and I do like what they've been doing with them. At the same time, there's a lot of things, a lot of nasty things that led to this happening that I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about it. But that's Hollywood, guys. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time. Take care, everybody.